Isaac.
Josh.
Did that feel different and weird when I opened by saying Isaac?
Oh, it might have. It took me by surprise, I tell you what.
This is something I've been thinking about lately, is that real serious YouTubers have an opening gambit that they do every time. Like, hey Guardians, or, what's another one?
Do you have another example?
One that really gets on my nerves is, hi, I, the War Owl, greets you. It has a grammatical error in it.
Oh yeah, it sure does.
It might be hi, the War Owl greets you. But anyway, why don't we have one of those? Why don't we just shout trucks whenever the thing starts?
I think we did that like 2 or 3 times out of 4.
Yeah, we do
back
it
in
sometimes.
season 1.
But like when these episodes begin is my least favorite part because I always have to go hi. What are we?
Yeah. So catchphrase development is what the deal is.
Yeah, and it could aid in your personality trait thing.
You're absolutely right. How about I'm trucks and you're not? Aim toward the audience because you clearly are also trucks.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Hey, I'm trucks. I'm not so trucks.
That's not gonna work.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm Josh and that's Isaac.
Hey,
the other thing we should
truckos.
say. Hey, truck friends.
Hey, truckos.
We're driving.
It's me, Mortimer, and today we're going to be driving through California.
We've got fruits. We're taking them to Bakersfield.
For a lot of them, it's not even like a catchphrase. It's just a selection of words that have become iconic merely through repetition.
Yeah.
Like, hey everybody, Jerma here, and today.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't know. It's gonna have to come organically.
Welcome to another Trucks video, and in today's Trucks video.
Well, the thing is, we would have to know what was happening in today's Trucks video.
We do know what's happening in today's Trucks video.
What's that?
You told me before. We're talking about...
Oh, are we talking about tiny little petty things that irritate us?
Yes, just like every time.
I have to tell you, I am miffed, steamed, and peeved. Actually, can you pause just a sec?
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. It should sound better now.
You know what irritates me is when the fucking people who've been doing this for 3 years still can't figure out how to get their audio not to clip. There's going to be a lot of that low-level sort of harmonic moaning in the distance in this one. Because, I'm steamed.
What are you steamed
I'm
about?
steamed. Josh, I'm steamed. You know what makes me steamy?
What makes you steamy? Oh, that sounds like a different thing.
No, I'm sorry. You know what makes my blood boil?
What makes your blood boil?
You know what really jars my jelly? You know what rustles them?
What is it that gets your goat?
Oh my goodness. My goat is perturbed by digital radio in supermarkets and restaurants. And do you know why?
Why?
Because if it was analog radio, then it would fade in and out when the connection was bad on a sea of clouds. On a beautiful bulge of nothing.
Wouldn't there be
The
white
sound
noise?
of the ether itself.
I'm confused.
Yeah. Static.
Oh, you
static,
miss
friend.
you missed.
It's not that what I wouldn't have said that. It's not that I miss static. It's
just
that
you prefer it to
the stutter stop thing.
Yeah.
It's so bad, and I feel so bad for the people at the Key Food around where we live because there are days when they have to stand there and listen to the best of the 50s and 60s, which is all that they fucking play at the Key Foods.
Yeah.
In 1.5-second bursts.
Yeah.
Interspersed with silence.
Like 4 seconds of silence sometimes.
Yeah.
It's more silence than
It
music.
would drive me insane within the first 15 minutes, and I have to sometimes leave the supermarket early in order not to go berserk. But they have to stand there under that the whole time. It must be deranging their souls.
It might be. This is the kind of thing... that would bother me too, but this is the kind of thing where I could imagine... where if we were to ask them about it, I mean, I don't know why we would do that, but if we were to, I bet they might just say, what are you talking about?
Yeah, well, here's the thing, right?
Right.
So Stephen Fry.
Okay.
Now, I was a big fan of Stephen Fry when I was growing up. I feel like a lot of people probably were,
Yeah.
Fry and Laurie, gold,
Yeah.
still.
Yeah.
Stephen Fry is kind of bullshit these days as far as I'm concerned. And the fact that he's bullshit these days, meaning basically that he has taken his crowning by the British public as a living national treasure far too seriously, and is letting himself lecture the young people on their, habits and their ways in a way that would have made him positively nauseous when he was a younger man, I'm sure.
Nauseated.
Nauseous.
I'm pretty sure Stephen Fry is a guy who would use the word nauseous in the prescriptive way, where nauseous means causing other people to feel nauseated.
Yeah. you know, he would have picked me up on that.
Yeah.
And Josh is an editor, which is something that we're going to get around to a little bit later in terms of pet peeves and their significance in the broader culture. But let me get back to my point.
Yes.
Stephen Fry was, you know, in one of his earlier essays, which I think contains the seed of the rot which has begun to consume him, said basically that...
What the... Sorry, I hit
You
R.
turned on the radio. Good job. The basic spiritual malaise of the time is essentially because people are surrounded by ugly objects.
Who said this? Stephen Fry said this?
Yeah, Stephen Fry said this. Cheap, ugly objects. You can't, you know, see a tree or a nice dish. It's all mass-produced, tacky, cheap crap, and that's just like, and that wears away at your soul. Like, there's a definite.
We didn't have tacky things? We didn't have mass-produced tacky things when Stephen Fry was young?
I don't understand. I mean, this is from when he was young. He was prematurely crabby.
Okay.
But, like, still, you know, it's a sentiment which sounds nice, but is bullshit because...
It reminds me of something Werner Herzog said.
Yeah.
Which is that we do not have sufficient images today, and that is my duty as a filmmaker is to provide sufficient images.
See, that's much better, though,
Yeah,
because
it
it
is.
does not put any...
It doesn't shame any particular thing.
It not only does it not shame any particular thing, but it completely ignores the idea that some images might be better or more worthy than others.
Right.
The only thing that matters to old Werner is
that they're
that
sufficient.
he can shovel them out there
I
for general use.
I think he means of sufficient magnitude, but I could be wrong about that.
I'm sure that but still bigger versus smaller, complex versus simple.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with beautiful and ugly, and nothing to do with morally uplifting and morally degenerate.
It needs to be a real steamship going up the mountain. But
Absolutely.
anyway, I don't mean to
because
change
that
the
is a
subject.
very large letter in an enormous alphabet.
I don't mean to change the subject to things I love. That would be off topic.
Yes. Let us talk instead about things that
does
bug
this
us.
Stephen Fry thing circle back around to whatever it was I said that made you start talking about it?
Yeah, it was. You were about to say that I was making some kind of noise about how this was probably wearing on the minds of the people who work there, and you said
We don't necessarily know that.
they probably don't notice. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, we adapt ourselves to environments, and also it's the sort of thing that will only bug you if you notice it.
Right.
And tuning it out is a thing. Like, I'm not really a hugely in favor of the folks who think that, you know, the bad mood that you're in is because of the tritone caused by the humming of your refrigerator and the, you know, the way that your computer fan operates it is when you get it up to a certain number of RPM. I think it's probably nonsense.
Right.
I think you're probably just sad because you don't leave your house enough.
Although, you know what does put me in a bad mood?
What?
Speaking of just oral sensations.
Oh, man. Oh, is there an oral sensation that puts you in a bad mood?
Yeah, there sure is. There sure is. There
Tell me.
sure is. There
Tell
sure
me.
is. It's,
Don't encourage me. I'm already in this mode. If you do that, I'm going to spin completely out.
I'm channeling some Fry and Laurie bits. But anyway.
Is there?
Certainly. My computer,
Sorry, I'm remembering the bit now.
I have a headphone jack in my computer, which when my CPU is busy, outputs like a little bit of noise. And Nick wanted to see if he could sense it, and he couldn't, but it's definitely there.
It's definitely there.
And when you, for instance, are playing a video game that gets your CPU pretty busy, and if that video game doesn't make a lot of noise on its own, then you're just going to be listening to this, which just instantly. That's why I bought my USB sound thing, which has its own problems, but a bass boost is less annoying.
This is, I mean, that is fascinating stuff because I might be more annoyed by a bass boost than by that, but it depends on the specific quality of the high-pitched noise.
A case in which this recently became a real problem for me was that Overwatch's loading music is very quiet, or rather it's matchmaking music. It's very, very quiet.
Oh, hey, do you want to know what irritates me?
Yeah?
I saw a post on Tumblr that said the brilliant thing about Overwatch is that you don't have to play it in order to enjoy it. Because Blizzard has made the story, which is so deep and interesting, and the characters, which are so well developed, so available to everybody. They just put it all out there so you can enjoy it without ever having to play the game. It's so democratic. It's so available.
And we're getting perilously closer to the editing thing too, because what I've been on the lookout for in all of these bits of Overwatch media is what sentence are they going to mangle this time? The first time it was during the moment of the kill. They are never more alive.
Yes.
And then they released a comic where someone said, a good deed, I'm only paraphrasing this one, but it was something like, a good deed is its own reward. That, and the smiles of children.
I mean, that almost circles all the way around to being incredible. Can I just say?
And in the recent one, it was, you think to lecture me about honor? You're not even worthy to speak his name! It's like every time.
I mean, that works if it's in a comedy Italian accent.
It was in a straight up Japanese accent.
Non-comedy Japanese accent.
Yeah. But we're not here to talk about the sentences, not yet anyway. We're
working up to the sentences.
We're here to talk about the story beats. Did you see that someone released I think a Source filmmaker short, like before the new Overwatch thing about Hanzo and Genji?
It was Crocodile, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know who it was. I don't know the guy who did it, but he called it. He called what the new short was going to be, and he was pretty much right. Look at this train, just one car.
Bye.
Well, at least I don't have to wait for very long.
That's not a thing that happens.
Anyway.
All right.
You feel me though? Like that
was fantastic.
I've never. It's been. Did you watch the new Overwatch short?
No, I can't bring myself to do it.
It would piss you off so much because it's been so long since I've seen something just so shamelessly playing all the samurai cliches, like something Western for that matter, right? Like,
yeah.
I don't think they go 2 lines without talking about honor. It frequently cuts to like a Japanese tapestry style thing with the flutes and the violins playing the pentatones.
Yeah.
And there's dragons.
Well, Josh, this is what makes it so accessible to everybody. This is what makes it such a breakthrough, because
they've written a story that you don't even have to pay attention to understand, because you recognize all the gestures.
You already understand everything that's in it, and that means that you can get on with the business of doing little tweaks and ships and fan stuffs.
Yeah.
Because you're never going to have to worry about jostling anything, or about getting jossed about anything, or contradicting canon, because there isn't any.
Right.
I mean, it's all just the story that you think it is. There isn't that separation. There isn't so much fan stuff between the story that you think you read and the story that you read. It's all the story that you think you read.
There's no risk of that pesky, glorious vision that the creators have getting in the way, because it's clear that they don't have one.
It's just, I mean, isn't that kind of wonderful in a way? Isn't just how this is a collection of archetypes thrown on the floor with like a bag of sentences cut out of other things, just sort of sprinkled on top of it? Isn't that kind of an amazing, Venus flytrap for intellect?
Does this even qualify as a pet peeve, or is bad art a pet peeve?
Okay, I'm gonna bring it back down.
Yeah.
If you drive a car and you put in, or bought it with, or if you have those fucking super bright headlights, fuck you. I want you to die. The only thing you're doing is making other people's lives harder. You are saying, I can be a dick to you completely without consequence because we're on a highway and you're not going to jump out of your car at 60 miles an hour and strangle me, which is what deserves to happen to me.
Oh my god, I thought when you said we were going to talk about our pet peeves, we were going to be like our normal second-guessing selves about it, right? And say like, but is this really... Are we really in the right here?
I did that about the bad art.
That's true.
I'm not doing it about the fucking headlights. Because you can choke on a dick.
It's a funny thing, like, I'm so sensitive about that myself, that this game has high beams, and if you pay attention, you've probably noticed that to the detriment of the watchability of these videos, I'm hesitant to have the high beams on at night, because unless there is, like, absolutely no oncoming traffic. Because you cannot even simulate being such a complete chode. I probably should
in this
just
safe
leave
space
the fucking high beams on, though.
Digital small town America. This is kind of a nice little town that we're going through.
Yeah, it is. Where the heck
where are we? Are we in San Francisco? I bet it's San Francisco.
Yeah, it looks like San Francisco.
Look at that. A lot of midriff there. It's the anyway. So yeah, that's a thing.
You got another one?
Yeah. It takes literally 5 seconds to put a new toilet paper roll on a tube. 5 seconds.
Now you're going to complain about our roommates.
I mean, this happens at my job.
True.
This happens,
Actually, I feel like everybody here is pretty good about it.
In restaurant bathrooms? Oh, are you?
I think so.
I don't know. Only the culprit would say such a thing. But anyway, no, it happens everywhere. It's like people use the last of the toilet paper and they don't replace the thing. They just leave it sitting there. It takes 10 seconds.
Yeah.
It takes 10 seconds to do that. It just makes everything so much nicer.
You're right.
Why can't you do it? Why don't you do
No
it? Did
one
you
wants-
never learn? Did your mom never teach you how to change a toilet paper roll? Did you think there was going to be someone there to do it your whole life?
No
Come
one
on.
wants to be right on the edge of pooping and having to change the toilet paper, and that's just a terrible experience. I'm struggling to
Be
think
sympathetic.
of pet peeves of my own. I really am struggling to. I know.
Yeah, no,
that
you're a very laid back human being.
I know that I have some though. They're all like stupid abstract things. Like they aren't things that affect my life immediately. It's just like when I recognize that.
There's a particular color of orange that I just find distasteful.
Oh, interesting.
No, I mean, I was.
Yeah, you know, kind of like that. I'm trying to think. Mostly, it's when I. Okay, let me just talk
All right,
about
all right.
this.
Here's one.
Yeah.
No, I mean, but
Yeah. No.
go
Yo,
ahead.
you first,
Okay.
because mine's gonna be long.
People on any side of any political argument that use puns in the place of the name of the opposing politician.
Oh yeah.
Pretty much puns as part of political discourse in any respect. You're revealing yourself to be a hollow person.
I mean, yeah.
A ceramic bowl with nothing inside. Maybe that's your bag.
Bad
you know?
arguments definitely, in general, like just get me so angry. Like when someone is trying their very fucking best to prove the other party an idiot, and they put two thoughts together in a way that doesn't really connect. You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
proves nothing, demonstrates nothing,
There's no way to win. Because,
raises no particular idea besides that you think the other person is an idiot.
Yeah.
Or when they use like evidence that they had of a breed that they had dismissed earlier in their argument because the other person tried to use it, like that. It's unreasonable how angry that gets me. I know that I ought to just.
Josh,
Yeah.
Consistency is the hobgoblin of small minds. Do I contradict myself? Very well, I contradict myself. I am large, I contain multitudes.
It's
I
not-
sing the song of myself
But
in this
you wouldn't.
terrible Facebook argument about Bernie Sanders.
There is a difference between containing multitudes and not knowing how to string an argument together.
Yeah, containing multitudes of bullshit, more like it.
You know what I mean? You may contradict yourself on occasion. I mean, for sure, there have been.
I contradict myself all the
There have
time.
been times when you have said that sucks because I'm trying to show it to you, and then later said to me, "You know what's pretty cool?" But
Sorry.
but you, in
I'm a
trying to
criminal.
make your case,
Yes.
this is the important thing.
All right.
When you're trying to say a thought,
Yeah.
you wouldn't do so in a way which defeats itself, and that's what I value about you.
Thanks. I'm internally consistent within the course of a single argument.
Yep.
Hey. I don't know. Keeping all those like conceptual balls going in your head at the same time is pretty tricky, you know. And there's also no particular reward for doing it because nobody ever wins these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody
I know.
ever convinces anyone. So
know, but
you might
there's-
as well just
Rhetoric should
slap
be its
whatever it is.
own reward. That and the smiles of children.
that and the smiles of children.
I have another one.
We should play Momus's rhetoric here.
No, we shouldn't.
Okay.
Here is another one.
Yeah.
A video game thing.
All right, I'm listening.
When the video game makes you follow another character,
And the walk speed.
the walk speeds don't match up.
Oh,
This
boy.
is a common thing in Assassin's Creed.
Mm-hmm.
You what I mean by the walk speeds don't match up, I mean this character walks at a certain speed that you cannot match.
Yes.
Your walk speed is digital. You can either go slightly slower or slightly faster than him. And this means that there's absolutely no good way to block the scene. You either are like catching it with him and then slowing down and then catching it with him and then slowing down, or my favorite thing to do in protest is to just kind of do tight circles around him while he walks.
Going woo woo woo.
Yeah.
Ideally. That's you know what I value about you, Josh, since
Yeah.
you paid me a compliment earlier in the proceedings, is that many people complain about this. This is not a unique observation you've made, but most people complain about it because of the way that it affects gameplay or because it's tedious.
Right.
And you complain about it because it makes the movie that is the game in your mind less good.
I am game to participate in a non-shooty bang scene if I can do so in a way which looks good.
Yeah, which is fluid.
Right.
And does not draw attention to its artificiality unless it means to do so.
Half-Life 2 has been guilty of this occasionally. But there are other times when people complain about the scenes in Half-Life 2 where you're just stuck in a room like listening to someone talk, and I'm fine with that as long as like I have a reason to be listening to them talk and they aren't like interacting with me in a way that I can't take part in convincingly. If the scene works, it works.
What if instead of having to wait for the NPC to do the thing, the NPC went to, was at point A, did the thing that it had to do at point A, and instead of then proceeding to point B, it did a smear wipe to point B, like it was in the Dover Boys?
There is a game, 30 Flights of Loving, that uses smash cuts in the midst of gameplay to a similar effect, and it's very good and ought to be done more often.
What is 30 Flights of Loving about? That's a title that fills me with distrust.
It's a Blendo game, as in it was made by Blendo Games, who are very good. You must have played one of their games. I think you'd remember them for Adam Zombie Smasher and Flotilla. Do you remember these games?
Yes.
The guy also does a series of games that are kind of like spy thrillers that you sort of lightly take part in.
Oh, right, I remember those.
Yeah, you remember one of those.
I remember those.
I don't think you played 30 Flights, but 30 Flights is the latest of those. And,
No, I thought that those were like meringues. They were very light and very clever.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed them.
Yeah. It's 30 Flights. Go play it. I think it's actually, I think it costs money, but it's worth it.
Cool. Well, that's a useful little bit of a tip.
But we're on things we like again.
Yeah,
this
can
is no good.
Can you marshal at least one piece of arbitrary distaste?
I'm out, except
right.
for the big long one. You want me to get to that?
I think we'd better embark on it then. So this actually resonates a little bit with what we were saying before about correctness of presentation.
Yeah.
So Josh edits.
I'd edit.
Is there any intrinsic value in correcting people's typos before they put their shit on the internet?
Right. I just read the new. I guess I won't name and shame here, but I read a new piece of writing in a respected video game publication, and I liked it a lot. It was a great piece of writing, made an excellent point, but it was just not edited. Like in the first paragraph, there were some really silly grammatical errors and typos that I at first was almost willing to chalk up as just kind of
stylistic intent.
Yeah, I was willing to say like it was about race issues, and so I was willing to say, well, maybe you're intentionally flying in the face here of convention. I can see value in that. Absolutely.
Very linguistic iconoclast.
Yeah, sure. But then later on in the thing, it had a parenthetical that said link here, with no link provided, and so the first paragraph. It
retroactively became a product of ineptitude.
Yes, it just became clear that nobody even tried to make this look nice. And okay, the piece still has value despite this. Like I would not be the person to discount to call a technical foul on the whole argument.
Right.
Like that's. Case in point, that is precisely the kind of shitty behavior that it's an editor's job to prevent, right?
Right.
Like,
you act as a human shield against pedantic dickbags who think they can dismiss the entire argument just because you might be a brony.
Right.
I mean, just because...
Just because, like, they think that they found evidence that you can't put two thoughts together. Mm. And this goes back to my earlier pet peeve, but regardless, like, I think... the case I will make is that editors shouldn't be ignored as much as they are. and I will say, like, I would like to say that it's all of these noble intentions, but it also just really bothers me that I'm doing a better job than these people who are getting paid to do it.
You are, and I think eventually the truth will out, and you will get paid to do these people's jobs, and you'll do better than they do.
Yes, I believe that to be the case.
At least, I certainly hope so. But, God, the writing in the literary world are full of chumps, though. I mean, that's just
true.
It's just a truth that must be acknowledged. But so here's a counterpoint, though, so we can make this into a discussion.
Yes.
So I write good.
Yeah, you do.
My capitalization is pretty scattershot.
Uh-huh.
My use of commas a bit on the impressionistic side.
Sure.
I have been known to string too many clauses together in the pursuit of flow.
Yeah.
And Yeah, I have certain elements to my writing that are incorrect, and I have no interest in correcting them. Capitalization is a particular bugaboo of mine. Capitalizing proper nouns feels wrong to me.
Right.
It's a problem. So I do this, and I put this out there because I am confident enough that I am a good writer, and that people will know that I am a good writer.
Yeah.
That they will know that I am aware that what I am doing is not correct and that I don't care.
Yeah, there is absolutely a place for that. There are writers who intentionally use no punctuation and no capitalization, and I don't feel any particular urge to correct them. Except, like, if I were their editor, and if I were in the position to be your editor, there may be cases where I say, like, this here creates ambiguity, and maybe we should address it. But you know, I wouldn't.
And that's the major thing, right?
Sure.
If the meaning is lost, then you have crawled up your own ass. This is no longer about individuality or about the poetry of the language. It is about you not caring whether the audience understands what you're saying,
Sure.
which is, I would say, pretty much never a positive trait for a writer to have.
Yeah.
But
Maybe we too straightforwardly agree about this for this to be a bit...
yeah,
We need to think of more
we
pet
need,
peeves.
we need to think of more pet peeves.
My pet
Obviously.
peeves is when I run out of things to say about on the podcast. Wow, we're like almost through this already.
Somebody was saying that they really liked it when we ran out of things to say on the podcast because
Yeah.
some of the most interesting tangents emerged therefrom. I think you've jinxed it. I think you've jinxed it forever by saying it to us.
There's more evidence for the Isaac is a furry camp.
So I read that probably not all of you read my Tumblr, but a gentleman posted a thing which I did not know I was not really aware that people did, which is to post what should be an article as a twine game, essentially.
Interesting.
Anyway, he posted this piece of writing, which was purported to be, you know, like.
Maybe we'll put a link.
Yeah, we ought. Whoa, we ought to. Which is like, you know, an admittedly subjective and, you know, personal history of the furry fandom. And the whole like genesis of the furry discussion that we had the other day was me being like, I feel like I was there for a lot of this, because I've been a chronicler of internet nonconformity for a long time. That's a terrible phrase, and I regret it and myself. But the point is that basically the one thing that he mentioned that I had never read, even though I had heard of it, was a comic called Omaha the Cat Dancer, which was pretty much your piece of furry porn. Like, you know, if you want people with animal heads having sex, here you go. It's also very charming, alt comicsy and 70s-y without being misogynistic, which is a hell of a thing to pull off, or without being overtly misogynistic at least. And so I was like, I feel like I'm letting myself down as a person who is interested in the history of both comics and the furry culture by not reading this. So I went and bought the first volume online. And I read it, and I was like, this is good enough. I'll buy the second volume online.
Do you hear the density of the contrivances, the extreme fiction Isaac invents to justify his
As an editor, can I tell you that you could have said, what a bunch of self-justifying bullshit that is.
Yeah, I sure could have, but
Yeah.
I can't. Unfortunately, you can't edit podcasts, and it's my...
What do you mean you can't edit podcasts? People who actually do this professionally edit their podcasts.
Surely they don't go back and make themselves sound more cogent and more fluent. Than
That's
they
exactly what they do. That's
Is
what
it
that's
really?
what professional editors do. As a professional
in their
editor.
podcasts, like they edit in they edit in better turns of phrase.
They edit out the ums and ahs.
Well, I'm sure. Yeah, sure. Fine.
And if they bog down, they stop and they start again, and the editor picks it up. It makes it a
that's
fluid
fine.
conversation.
By now, it's just part of the Trucks thing that we don't do that, right?
Yeah, I know. It's. I'm not suggesting that you should do this.
But is it really a thing that they go back and like say, I could have put that a little bit more smoothly?
I don't think that they do re-records of particular phrases. Maybe they do. Maybe some people are really are really committed to sounding smooth.
Man, maybe one day I'll go back and edit everything I say in a Trux to be beautiful and written out and just...
It'll take you as long as a Road to Trials episode
I'll be...
takes.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be
And I'll sound like a fucking idiot.
It'll be great. Well, it'll
man.
be great because normally you're a little bit ahead of me in this regard. But no. Here's the thing.
Regardless.
Isaac got a package today.
Yeah, so I got a package today, and I was like, man, that was fast. I ordered this all of 2 days ago.
And I said, what is it? And he said, oh, it's some furry erotica. And I said, oh.
Yes.
It's all true.
But the point
Yes.
was that the return address on this package that
yeah.
I safely
Funny
and
story.
anonymously ordered from some Amazon reseller on the internet, 1 block away from my house. There's a comic warehouse that sells comics by mail a block away from my house. I've passed it before. I didn't make the connection.
And now
They know.
Yeah, they sent you a little brochure saying, hey, you should come visit.
You should come visit here. I'm sure
And
there's more things here for people like you.
Apparently they're only open some of the time. They're mostly a shipping place.
Yeah, they're mostly
And now we're totally planning
by
it.
mail
We're
thing. Yeah, we're gonna
absolutely...
go over there. So we discovered something.
Yeah.
I discovered something about my neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I discovered something about myself.
And hopefully...
Which wasn't actually a discovery.
And hopefully, when we're there, we can find even more high-quality furry erotica.
I mean, they had volume 2. I'm pretty sure that means they should have volume 3, right?
There's a 3rd volume. How many volumes are there?
I mean, this was an epic.
Oh.
This is the collected works of one of the.
Does it eventually introduce a time travel plot?
I don't know.
That's what happens in contemporary epics.
Science fiction hasn't arrived in this one yet. It's noir pretty much at this point. It's conspiracies of the rich and the powerful.
Interesting. I only skimmed it a little bit, and I will say that there was an attraction to the images. I mean, it was all nicely drawn, tastefully done. It wasn't pornographic. It was.
That's why I said
just
erotica.
erotical.
I was not sparing your feelings.
I'm
I was
simply
merely being precise.
I'm underlining the distinction.
Yeah, underlining. So that was a time that we had.
Yeah.
And we're almost done with this Trux now.
But we do still have more time.
I'm
fill.
going to try to wrench out of the depths of myself.
Another pet peeve?
Yeah, one more thing that makes me just go completely...
I have one. When a song's melody, especially when performed by a vocalist, is all quarter notes.
Oh, right. We were listening to that song yesterday.
This is why I can't listen to Weezer. And there was that other song. I can't remember what it was anymore. Do you remember what it was? Can we sing a verse?
I don't remember what it was, unfortunately.
That's sad.
I think it was... it was in the Chapati house.
Yeah, it was.
And I think it was a remix of something else.
It was.
Like a dance remix of a previously extant song.
But all of this information is useless to our listeners.
Yeah, and the thing about dance music, the way that it is currently construed, which is the, you know, do 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 do.
Yeah.
You know,
It had some of that going on, but that is not my pet peeve.
No, but the thing about that is that it lends itself to these very like powerful four on the floor. That's what it's called.
No. I'm
you know,
chuckling at the
melodic lines,
at the aptness of the observation.
But you know, that doesn't mean that you can't put a fucking dotted note in there. It's not dance until the world ends. She actually goes dance until because she's sane.
Right, exactly.
And you have to put a little bit of a swing to it, or else you're Kraftwerk.
I mean, the sun is a mass of incandescent gas. I mean, right there, you're not putting any swing on it or anything, but even there, like that's a band playing with a simplistic melody, but still, there's some interest there.
Bum 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 bum.
Right.
You know, you're breaking it up a little bit. Josh, of course, breaks out in hives if there isn't at least one type signature that has a 5 in it somewhere in the music that he's listening to. But
I've been falling in love with the knife lately, and I don't think there's any interesting.
I have a pet peeve.
Yeah.
When your roommate plays the knife.
It's so
who
good.
are fucking overrated.
It's so good.
It's not.
It's alien landscapes addressed in a spiritual fashion.
It's a bunch of Nords who think they're better than they are.
No, it's great. I love when we disagree about music.
It is like probably the only thing that we like regularly disagree about.
Yeah, that's music for you.
Yeah, it speaks to very specific things in our souls. And like, here's a fact about me. If the person who made the music is Scottish, I am like a good 50% more likely to like the music. If the person is Scandinavian,
I'm doing
good
something
50% less likely to like it. Couldn't tell you why. It's the same basic climate.
Yeah, I've been thinking about pressing you on what it is with you in Scandinavian music.
You know,
there is a uniform self-seriousness about it, which I think
there is. And you know what? I think it might be class based because the Scots are, you know, the people who make. I mean, there are no punks. There's no punks in Scandinavia.
Yeah,
that's the
true.
basic problem. There's not even the basic bedrock that could create punks.
There's only
There's
synth pop.
There's like, you know, guaranteed income and oil money and, you know,
These people don't know despair.
monoculture.
How can they
don't-
possibly make art?
I mean,
we've actually talked about this
they
before.
they commit suicide out of boredom. I mean, there's no fire in it. You know, I want my maudlin music to have, like, you know, actual poverty behind it. Thank you very much.
But but the knife is all about, their music is about gender, and we all agree that gender is suffering. We we have no qualms with that, do we?
Is your gender suffering, Josh?
You know, a little bit, sure.
Are you suffering in your gender right
the
now?
patriarchy hurts us all, man.
You know what? We can't deny it. I mean, we wouldn't be pussyfooting around the fact that we're both obviously furries if the patriarchy didn't have us in its grasp.
The first thing I ever learned about the knife was that they had been given an award which they refused.
Did you like pussyfooting as you know, in furries? That was a nice little.
I'm afraid I missed it.
Never mind. Yeah, and the lady from the knife, who I believe is named Fever Ray, wore
First name Fever, last name
I
Ray.
believe wore a cone made of meat on her head in a way that would accepted her award in a.
No, she rejected.
She rejected her award and did so by gargling some words that sounded like they came from a blender that had been sandpapered.
You gotta have some shock and awe, man.
Yeah,
People are gonna take notice.
But she did this in Scandinavia, so it was like a fly farting in a Klein bottle.
I find it much more legit than when Lady Gaga does these sorts of things.
Why is that? Because Lady Gaga has some Jersey in her?
No, it's
You
because
know?
Lady Gaga has no recognizable ethos that I can parse.
Her ethos is making pop music, and she's a musician.
Yeah, I like her music. You know, Bad Romance is one of my favorite songs.
Yeah, we
but
can disagree about that too.
whatever. Here we are at the truck place disagreeing about music.
My pet peeve is when Josh and I don't disagree about music, because disagreeing about music with Josh is a very happy and worthwhile experience to have.
Yay. Someday I'll make you like an Autechre track.
There have been a few that I haven't disliked, but you're right, I haven't liked any yet. So, you know, do it.
You just gotta sit and listen. You just gotta have a little patience.
Yeah, it's like, you know who, my friend Cassie at work kept trying to make me like stuff until I was like, this isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
And, you know, talking about a pet peeve, Andrew Bird, not a real bird. There are birds on the covers of his albums, which makes you think that he might be a bird. Not a bird.
Damn, that sucks.
God.
It's so...
The only band that has an actual bird in it that I know of is called Hatebeak. They're a heavy metal band, or death metal band.
What part does the bird play?
Vocals.
Nice. Do they teach the bird metal lyrics, or...
No, the bird just screams horribly.
Nice. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, we can maybe put a little Hatebeak on.
No.
No Momus, no Hatebeak.
Music with vocals, even if they're bird vocals. Well, maybe Hatebeak is doable, but I've been avoiding copyrighted stuff lately.
Yeah,
I've
that
been
seems
avoiding
like-
stuff that's likely to get these videos eventually taken down.
I feel like Hatebeak is copyright would be almost too fancy for them. But anyway, my basic point is that trying to get somebody to like music they don't like is just so difficult.
You have to do it in moderation.
Yeah.
You have to pick the moment.
You have to wait for a moment of weakness, essentially, and then sort of ease it into their consciousness.
Or you have to consciously name a date to make a trade of music that the other
So, Josh,
guys...
I can't help but notice that you're doing this backwards.
What do you mean? Oh, shit.
Did you genuinely not notice that?
Surely it doesn't matter where the hell my cab is, does it? Why would it? It shouldn't. I hate you. It's over.
A+ trucks. Content for all.
Now we need a closer too to make up for the to make up for the shitty opening that we have, which is me going Isaac.
Okay, here it goes.
Okay.
Isaac.
Josh.
There you go.
Cool.